Thank you, Prashant, for that very warm introduction. And thank you, Reverend Father, for your benign presence today and your blessings. And, Miss Ananya, and all dear students, delegates, participants of this very important international seminar. For me, also, this is a first of its kind experience that I'm simultaneously addressing students of two important institutions, St. Paul's College, Bangalore, and the students of the journalism department of the University of Allahabad, which was once considered the Oxford of the East. That was the prestige of this university. It is still one of the finest in the country. And so I'm addressing them. I'm addressing all of you virtually, and I'm addressing them, physically. So I'm in the classroom with them. And this is a very important subject, very close to my heart, misinformation in the era of artificial intelligence. So thank you, Prashant, for flagging this very important concern, which is today being discussed widely across the world. And this is, I've been working on media literacy for the last few years, particularly with the advent of new media technology. Right now I'm in Prayagraj. Yesterday there were some French delegates with me, and on our way back, we were discussing one of the reasons for this massive, unprecedented crowds. Right now Prayagraj is chock-a-block. You hardly have any space to move. And what is the reason for this? One reason, of course, undoubtedly, is the faith of the people. That, of course, goes without saying. And it is interesting to see a large number of youth who are present. Earlier we used to think that pilgrimages were confined to the senior citizens. But today you see a large number of youngsters. But then there is another reason, and that's very interesting. That's the technological intervention. The social media has played a very important role in what you call the massive response to the Kumbh. Kumbh has always attracted people, no doubt it is. It has always been the largest gathering of human beings. But then I'm told that according to rough estimates, the local minister was telling me yesterday that there are already about 50 crore people have already taken a holy dip. Now that's perhaps unprecedented in human history. So certainly social media played a very important role in this entire thing. And of course, the word of mouth, what the people said that about the facilities at the conference, it also went viral. And then there were all kinds of what we used to call in our journalism days as color stories, the soft stories of the IIT Baba, the girl selling garlands, the Mona Lisa, as she was known as, some actress overnight becoming a Mahamandaleshwar and subsequently leaving it. It was very spicy, a lot of spicy stories put out on social media. That also attracted the attention of people, and everybody was feeling today we use this term, which is called a FOMO, that the fear of missing out. And I think that everybody felt that we should be there at Kumbh. At least we should be seen. If we are not seen at Kumbh, it will be, we will be looked down upon. We have to be there. So that kind of an atmosphere was created thanks to social media. But what is interesting, and this is where the beginning of the misinformation thing begins. This entire story about the 144 years is not mentioned in one scripture. The scriptures only talk about the Ardha Kumbh and the Purna Kumbh. Ardha Kumbh in every 6 years and Purna Kumbh every 12 years. What was conveniently done was that you multiplied 12 into 12 and reached this magic figure of 144. And that seems to have attracted a whole lot of people who have come here thinking that my previous two generations could not come and take a dip. My next two generations cannot come and take a dip. So let me be the fortunate one to come here and take a holy dip. 144, only lately towards the end, people started saying that no, there is nothing called 144 in the scriptures. Because then you had the stampede here. You had the stampede at the New Delhi railway station. So all this contributed to people started realizing that you have invited something that is more than what you could handle. Even the UP government, despite putting out the best efforts, is today finding itself very helpless. I could see that situation yesterday. Our conference was supposed to be for 2 days, but after 1 day, the conference was called off. And we were told that the conference is over because the rush, they are just unable to manage. And this is from where I would like to begin. I'm sure that in the last 1 week of this international FDP, scholars and faculty members from across the world and across the country have, briefed you on the various dimensions, aspects of misinformation. I would like to come specifically to the point because as I said, I am at another university and I have students waiting here, though they are also benefiting from this lecture. I want to come to specific points, how we can deal with it. Now, please remember that it requires a multi-dimensional, multifaceted approach. There is no unidimensional treatment for this misinformation. It has to be dealt through a multi-pronged approach. And the multi-pronged approach includes technological, social, and educational strategies. I will try to enlist a few of them, because since this is the valedictory address, because we can talk about problems endlessly ad nauseum. What is important is that we talk about solutions. I always say that for the last 75 years since our independence, our media has been talking about problems. But I think it is high time we start talking about problems, not problems, but solutions. Today, across the world, there is a movement for solutions journalism, which is also called a positive journalism. Let us look at solutions. Now, let me first solution technological. Let us develop artificial intelligence powered fact-checking algorithms that can verify misinformation. The same AI that is today being used, we have seen artificial intelligence popular instances being how through Deepfake, Rashmika Mandana, who is called the national crush, was shown in a very vulgar kind of a, her photographs or her video was morphed, some other's video was morphed, and it was shown as if she was, there. We had the Prime Minister dancing to Garba, again another fake video. And the third one was outrageous. During the last elections, we saw that the country's home minister's statement was twisted and presented using deepfake. Now, a lot of cyber crimes are being committed. A lot of the Prime Minister himself has referred to what is called digital arrests that is happening. People are being told over the phone that there are cases against them and they will be prosecuted if they don't pay a certain amount of money. There's a lot of blackmailing going on. There's a lot of cyberbullying which is happening. AI is being used by the violators of the law, the criminals. Then why can't we use the same AI to develop algorithms that can check, verify, cross verify such content? That has to be the first and foremost effort. The second, and that is, how can we use NLP? NLP can be used to analyze the potentiality of misinformation. That is how we can use the power of technology, harness the power of technology to do fact checking, to check, cross check, verify, and cross verify. Third, can we do machine learning? We can utilize machine learning to detect the patterns of misinformation. That is again something that can be technologically done to check misinformation. Friends, the corona era saw the maximum misinformation. Misinformation has always been there. Particularly political misinformation has been there for a long time. But gradually it is spreading to other areas, and this is a matter of concern because it is directly impacting the common man. For example, during the COVID, the peak of COVID, a lot of misinformation, fake content. I have a problem with using the term fake news because I believe that it's an oxymoron. If it is fake, it cannot be news, and if it is news, it cannot be fake. It is as simple as that. You don't have a fake policeman, you have an imposter. If he's a policeman, he is real. And if it is fake, then he is not a policeman. So it is like that. So a fake content is there, not a fake news, because news is a processed product. You know, it is based on sourcing. It is based on attribution. We were taught in our younger days that you cannot even say the sun rises in the east and sets in the west without quoting the source. That is the importance of, attribution, sourcing. Sourcing is very important. But then today you see a lot of things are being thrown at us, dished out, day in and day out. In fact, the World Health Organization Director General had famously referred to this as infodemic, or an overdose of information. An overdose of information is when there is so much of information, you're flooded by so much of information that you are unable to distinguish between the correct and incorrect information. And during Corona, we saw a lot of information, misinformation being peddled, including that if you vaccinate, you will become impotent, you will become infertile, you will die within a year. And it led to a lot of what is popularly known in health parlance as vaccine resistance. It happened during the polio vaccination also. But COVID, we saw a lot of people actually in Madhya Pradesh, where I was posted, in some pockets, people climbed trees because the people health workers had come to vaccinate them. They did not want to get vaccinated. All kinds of misinformation there. Then in the social arena, we have seen how students Northeast were forced to migrate en masse from Bangalore itself because of some morphed videos, morphed photographs, doctored videos, manipulated audios. These have always been there. And now AI is being used. So it is impacting our society. A lot of misinformation. It led to mob lynching in places like Palghar. Some sadhus were killed because it was spread. Rumors were spread that they were child lifters. Women are being killed in villages saying that they were witches. Dayan, as they say in Hindi. People are being killed. Now, all kinds of misinformation is being passed on. So we need to understand this. I remember during the COVID, I received one day a call from a retired Director General of Police who told me that, sir, what is happening? You seem to have a sore throat. I said that, no, just a slight cough. He said, no. You please do one thing. It seems that it could be a COVID symptom. So you slice a lemon into two and then squeeze the lemon into your nostrils. I said, this is a former Director General of Police. I said that, sir, so what will it do? He said that COVID is finished if you do this. I said that, so that means all the efforts being made by, Bharat Biotech, scientists all over the world, the Pune-based, people who are making, the Covaxin and Covishield. I said that is all a sheer wastage. We just need to distribute lemons to our people. So instead of making lemonade, they will squeeze it into their nose and they will get cured. So I said, from where did you get this gyan? He said that social media. Now, even very intelligent people are getting misguided by this. I have seen in Bangalore, Whitefield, I am told, is a very posh locality. At that time, we were studying this COVID phenomena. And I was told that initially, for a few days, nobody in that place where the highly skilled software professionals live, they did not even go to take vaccination because of fear. So this is, this is the impact of misinformation. It can impact your health directly. It can impact, and what happened during the protests against the agricultural laws, by the union government in Punjab, there were fake handles which were proxy handles which were operating from across the border. They had names which sounded very Indian, but these handles were creating or fostering the separatist narrative, the extremist narrative. And subsequently, the intelligence was able to detect many of these handles. Now, we need to understand how, and we need to know the basic difference between malinformation, misinformation, and disinformation. Malinformation means it is like malnutrition. That is lack of nutrition. Lack of information, absence of information, or half-baked information is called malinformation. So a journalist, suppose he is covering the Kumbh, he doesn't have the adequate information and he sends a half-baked story to his readers. And today, thanks to concepts like citizen journalism, I'm sorry, it may be there even in your syllabus, and it is being taught in, unfortunately, in syllabuses all over the country. I hold a grudge against that because I believe that journalism is a profession. It requires training. Anybody and everybody, every Tom, Dick, and Harry cannot become a journalist. Have you heard about a citizen doctor? Have you heard about a citizen engineer? Have you heard about a citizen chartered accountant? No. If a citizen cannot be a chartered accountant, if a citizen cannot be an engineer, how can a citizen be a journalist? A citizen, because of the democratization and decentralization of technology, what the citizen can become is a communicator. He can communicate. So he is a citizen communicator. He cannot be a citizen journalist. Journalism is about publishing. Journalism is about ethics. Journalism is about constitution. Journalism is about media laws. Journalism is about right to information. Journalism is about understanding the law of the land. Journalism is about understanding contemporary issues. Without this, with a mobile phone in your hand, you think that you become a journalist. I'm sorry, I don't agree with it. So please try to replace the word citizen journalism in your syllabus with citizen communication. That would be a more appropriate terminology. The second is, as I said, malinformation, misinformation. Misinformation is a message that is passed on without any intent to damage. Of course, it causes damage. For example, the police officer who advised me to squeeze lemon into my nostrils certainly did not want to kill me. He had good intentions for me, but he lacked good information, correct information. So he passed it on to me. So many people are passing on these things without verifying, cross verifying, checking, cross checking. The result is misinformation. Then you have disinformation. Disinformation is a deliberately, as I said, from across the border, anti-social elements, industry lobbies, a lot of disinformation deliberately. Earlier, I remember, of course, in a lighter vein, this had actually happened. Few years back, they pushed a research in newspapers, it appeared, that eating chocolates will produce happy babies. And every husband was, literally pushing down chocolates down their wife's throat. Khale isko, khush bacha hoga. Happy baby will be born. This actually happened. This was disinformation at the height. Now, but that was, of course, may not be damaging. But it would have been damaging if suppose the wife is a diabetic and she is fed on heavy dose of chocolates. So without basic research, when people pass on information deliberately to cause damage, that is, disinformation. So we need to distinguish between disinformation, misinformation, malinformation. Maybe sometimes their outcome is the same, the impact is the same, but the intentions are different. So we should know how to deal with them. Okay, let me come to the fourth technological intervention. Please, we can use blockchain technology, to create a decentralized structure to check information and misinformation. Let me quickly cover some of the social things that we can do, and that is media literacy. I have been talking about this ad nauseum. I think that, for example, social work schools in universities, they adopt villages to do social work. Law faculty and law department in universities adopt villages to offer legal aid, free legal aid. Can media departments, and I'm requesting the head of the department, Dr. Amit Sharma of the Allahabad University also, who is present here, and of course, Prashant, you are there. Why don't you make a beginning in your respective areas by adopting a village for media literacy? That would be something innovative. I'm sure that in future that would be really discussed. So please use community radios. Many of the institutions have their own community radio stations. This can be used to create media literacy. Now, media literacy is different from media education. Media education is to pursue a career in media education, whereas media literacy is every citizen should have it. And second thing is that please incorporate that in the school education curricula. Right from primary stage, there has to be a graded approach for primary students, because A lot of our children are today becoming victims of cyberbullying, of cyber pornography. So our children should know. We have taught our young boys and girls the meaning of good touch and bad touch. Can we teach them good media and bad media, what they should watch? 6-month-old kids are watching videos. They start crying if they don't offer them, the mobile phone. So from 6 to 95-year-olds, they are today using mobile phones. Can we reach out to them in a graded way? A child of impressionable age will not have the wisdom to distinguish between what is correct or incorrect. I'm sorry to say there is a deep sociological, development which is taking place. Children, young teenagers, young adolescents are today getting information that they are supposed to get only after a certain age. Like you have a voting age, you have a driving age. Similarly, content also has to be, determined on the basis of age. We don't allow young children below 18 to smoke, to get cigarettes, buy cigarettes. How are we allowing them to watch content which is not appropriate for them? And as a result, they are maturing at the age of 13 and 14. Children know what we would never know even at 21. That today 13 and 14-year-old children are knowing. And that is changing their perception, their entire approach to life, which is very unfortunate. And that is happening. Now, so media literacy, incorporating that. And secondly, I think that we need to have a collaboration between tech companies and fact checkers. That is something which is most desirable, that the tech companies should actively work with fact checkers so that they can upgrade, help. A lot of departments like you people is a lot of central government institutions. They are all having fact check units. There are your Vishwas News. There is a portal which actually does fact checking. There are of course some news platforms, fact checking platforms which have a certain bias also. So they check only a particular content from a certain ideology. I don't want to get into that, but that is unfair. I think that fact checking fact is a fact that has to be. So I always say that let's not be activists, let us be factivists. Factivism has to be there. But unfortunately, today we see a lot of activists. Third, there has to be a public awareness program. I referred to public, community radio can be a very effective tool. NSS, National Service Scheme, NCC, their cadets can go around, create this thing about it. And of course, I would say that we need to encourage critical thinking. That brings me to the educational part, which is the last part I would like to deal with. And I've already talked about the need to, bring media literacy as a part of our school curriculum in a graded approach. But certainly, the National Education Policy 2020 talks about two critical pillars. One is critical thinking, and the second is problem solving. Critical thinking has to be an important component. Because we are all talking about media students, I have a lot of media students before me. We, for centuries in India, we have had a tradition of questioning. And questioning, whether it is, the Prashnotari to the Yaksha and, the Yama and Nachiketa question and answer, the Yaksha and Yudhishthira conversation, or the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, it's all based on questions. We ask questions so that we have a thousands of years old, centuries old tradition of asking questions and getting answers. So that is the critical mind. The Indian mind has always been very critical. We have had a critical approach. So we always teach that everything has to be taken with a pinch of salt. And particularly for media students, we should not be blindly looking at it. And that is why in this country, we have had a tradition of Shastrarth, and the famous dialogue or conversation between Shankaracharya and Mandana Mishra is an example of Shastrarth. That is, through question and answers, trying to understand the truth, the reality. That is the whole objective. So critical thinking has to be a very important component of our thought process. We need to develop that critical, not being critical. It is critical thinking. That does not mean कि अच्छा खाने में नमक नहीं है, this में, that is not critical. That is criticism. We are talking about critical thinking. That is there. Thirdly, I just want to very quickly say that we need to promote digital literacy. The more people become digitally literate, they will be able to identify a lot of stuff that I should not do this. I will get swindled if I unnecessarily click a link. My entire money would be taken away. So we should promote digital literacy, and we should have that, foster the culture of skepticism. Friends, as I said that regulatory also, there are ways of dealing with it, and I am somebody who has always been against control, but I believe that we need to regulate social media platforms. We need to hold them accountable and responsible for the content that is being shared. They cannot be allowed to, it is a flat platform, no doubt about it. We want it to be an open platform, but at the same time, they cannot get away with murder. They cannot, we need regulations to ensure that they don't violate the law of the land, indulge in defamation, indulge in libel, indulge in slander. That we need to be very careful. We need to ensure fact checking is done by these social media handles. Social networking sites have to be held accountable. I would also say that there has to be, we need to create transparent methods to ensure that that the media highlights what is sponsored content. If we are not told, the reader, the viewer, and the listener is not told that this is sponsored content, we tend to believe in that. And that is why even the Election Commission, when it was cracking down on paid news, talked about the need for media to highlight what is sponsored. That is why the entire issue, the debate over the paid news came to the fore, that people will take money and media houses and then will show sponsored item in a particular way. And of course, we need to have, promote industry which are into fact checking. We need to support them, support such initiatives, and we need to address issues like deepfake and address the role of algorithms. These are things which we should be doing. We should work. This is a big movement. Technology we cannot stop, it is unstoppable. The only thing is that how we can create awareness, how we can ensure through regulation that this power is not misused, because at the same time, we need to have that delicate balance between freedom of speech and regulating misinformation. That is very important, because in the name of curbing misinformation, we should also not encroach on the freedom of speech and expression, which is so critical for human well-being. I hope that I have tried to, in a way, summarize, Prashant. I'm sure the deliberations which have taken place over the last few days, I would have loved to come there physically someday and interact with your students and faculty. But for the time being, I feel that, this is an important issue. And once again, I compliment St. Paul's College for taking this initiative, your management and your team. And thank you for inviting me and allowing me to share my thoughts on this very critical issue. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.